Oh, it looks like we're here.
Are we
Yeah,
here?
we're here. Yep, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Status Coup. The date is Tuesday, November 29th, in this year of our Lord,
We're
2022.
live. What's up?
That
All
was
right,
me.
somebody needs headphones.
I have headphones, but I also forgot to mute this. Sorry.
Good job. Glad you muted it. I'm Ron Placone. I'm here with Tina-Desiree Berg. She's usually not here on Tuesdays, but she's here
No,
today
I'm here
because
today.
she was at the UCLA strike yesterday. And that's actually what we're going to start with today
Yeah.
because, folks, first of all, hope you're having a wonderful day. We're both reporting to you from the city of Los Angeles, California, in the United Corporations of America. And smash that like button. Smash it. It's Tuesday. It's not quite hump day, but it kind of is. Just smash it. Just give it a good smash. Smash the like button. Have a drink after work. You've earned it. You deserve it. Maybe it's already after work for you. If you're in the East Coast time zone, maybe you already punched the clock for the day. Treat yourself to a libation of your choice to watch today's show. Maybe it's alcoholic, maybe it's not. No judgment here. No peer
No
pressure
judgment.
either. Just do you. Maybe it's a CBD soda. Maybe it's
Yeah.
cannabis and a soda. Doesn't matter. Just be yourself. But so
Just be yourself.
we got breaking news, and that's what we're going to kick off
We
with.
do.
So let's check out some of Tina's footage first. So Tina, you were at the UCLA strike yesterday,
Yeah.
and I watched your footage when Status Coup dropped it initially, but I'm looking forward to going through it with you. But first, what were some of your takeaways? How was it?
So I was with the life sciences postdoc group. So there's multiple various schools that are involved in the strike. They are all doing strikes together and then also strikes separately. So yesterday they were delivering a notice to the dean of the school. Basically, the dean had suggested that they still had obligations as students, even if they were striking as workers. And you can't really separate these two things when you're a postdoc. So for folks that don't know what a postdoc is, we should probably explain that. These are folks that are doing research for the university. They've already have their PhD in the life sciences area. These are, biologists, whatnot. So they're doing medical research. They're doing life science research, things of this nature. And the reason I wanted to talk to them specifically is because the university funding they get a lot of funding from grants, right,
Right.
that are research driven. And the UC system, and this is probably true for a lot of the school systems, takes a big chunk of that, and it's what helps to really run the school. So these scientists, and they absolutely are scientists, don't get 100% of that funding. It goes into a pot that helps fund the school. So it's really reasonable to expect to at least get a living wage if
Right.
you're doing this, if you're bringing this kind of money into the school and doing this kind of work, because you cannot take another job while you're doing this. These are full-time positions in these labs. And one of the things that one of them said was that she doesn't get a regular paycheck. She doesn't know when the university is going to pay her a paycheck, even on top of it. So she says sometimes it's the
It's like
first,
not
sometimes it's a week. Yeah, it's very loosey goosey.
really. That's so ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous.
Does it at least happen once a month?
I didn't ask her that. I should have, but she was making the point that it's not this regular thing. So it's really frustrating because I think all of this is also tied into lack of funding from the state at this point. One of the things that Bernie Sanders ran on, as everybody knows, was reestablishing financing for public universities and making them tuition free again. That used to be the norm. Right when the UC system was set up, they were almost entirely funded by the state of California. That funding is now dropped to around 10%, just to give you an idea of how far gone it is.
I thought it was lower than that. I'm surprised it's even that high.
It fluctuates between like 8 and 12, more or less, depending on the year and the budget. And the reason I say that is because the UC and the Cal State budgets are I believe still the largest line item on the discretionary side of the budget, not the mandatory side. So when they can't balance the budget, they have to go over to this discretionary side and look at what they can cut into to make it work. They can't run a deficit or debt. They have to have a balanced budget every year as a state. So because it's one of the biggest, or not the biggest, depending on what we're looking at, what year, it gets cut quite frequently. So, and then you get rounds where they promise more money back to the UC system, and that goes back and forth. But so all of these things are tied together is my point. So the definancing of the public school system, that the fact that these postdocs are living in cities that are expensive, like how are you supposed to make ends meet on $2,200 a month in the Los Angeles area? It's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. That won't even cover your rent. It won't even cover your rent. So these are legitimate beefs they have. I know. I want to bring this up because I want people to understand the extent of this. A lot of people are like, "Oh, they're students. They're just being whiny." I've heard some comments like that, and no, this is not the case. These are
they're just being whiny, having a job where they can't afford to live, and saying that's a problem.
Yeah, and there's and it's not just the scientists. It's across every school.
It's across and it's across the country too. I mean, it's always nice when an institution stands up, but you know what? We're going to get to the tentative agreement here in just a second, but it reminded me, I remember, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I honestly don't recall which institution it was, so I don't want to potentially misspeak. But when I was applying to graduate school, there was this one program I applied to where, you had to apply for an assistantship, which again, as Tina pointed out, as you've heard us talk about before, that's a job.
It's a job.
And the department needs you. You have a job.
They rely on you. They rely on this cheap labor, right? So, a lot of these, in a lot of the way these systems is up, that the lecture hall, like the main lecture you go to once a week, is run by the professor, but everything else is run by the TAs, so the graduate students, postdocs, whatnot.
So I found out that the stipend they were offering, again, for an assistantship, which is a job, the living stipend they were offering was $500 a month.
Holy shit.
So it's that's literally impossible. Either you need to be local to that place where you have parents who are willing to house you.
Right. Or you're independently wealthy.
Or you're independently wealthy, or you have rich parents or whatever. Or you just take out loans to survive, student loans or whatever. I mean, it's nuts. So let's go to the tentative agreement because I think we have a guest here coming up, and I don't want to keep them waiting too long. But let's go to the tentative agreement here. So this is the breaking news, folks. Apparently, a tentative agreement has been reached. Colin, let's go to that. But they still need to vote on it. So breaking, the University of California and UAW have reached a tentative agreement for postdocs and academic researchers 15 days into the largest strike of the year. They remain on strike in solidarity with other units. So here's some info below. And I definitely can't read that here.
All right, so I can read
it on my. You want to read it?
Yeah, compensation that addresses the cost of living. So most postdocs will receive 20 to 23% salary increase, up from $12,000. You heard that right, folks, up from $12,000 by October 2023. I'm highlighting that number just so folks realize how piss poor it is. Over the course of 5 years as a postdoc at UC, the current lowest paid postdoc would see a 57% salary increase. And that's just bringing it up to a barely livable wage. Let's be clear. This is not some giant, huge leap. For 2024 to 2027, 7.2% annual increase for postdocs on the scale, 3% annual increase for above scale postdocs, faster timelines to receive experience-based step increases. They're going to get 4 to 8 weeks of paternal and family leave paid at 100%, childcare subsidies, which was something they were asking about, lengthened initial appointments from 1 year to 2 years to ensure job security and longer visas, immigration article with guaranteed leave time for immigration appointments and protections if immigration laws change, protections for workers with disabilities, commitment to implement free transit passes within 3 years, any commitment
and
to
an e-bike discount.
And an e-bike, yeah.
I mean, come on. They saved the best for last. You get an e-bike. I hear those things are actually a great time. That is a pretty cool perk. But my neighbor got one recently, and he freaking loves it. And then I believe the other, so that was the academic researcher agreement, and the other agreement, the other specific postdoc thing is pretty similar. I mean, I looked them both over. They're pretty just neck and neck. So what happens next is, first of all, they're staying on strike in solidarity until the members will vote on it. and then we'll see what happens next. But
well, this is my understanding is this isn't not everybody's reached tentative agreements. It's sort of like the railroad strike where there's 12 different unions and all 12 have to reach their agreements. One doesn't reach it, they're all going on strike in solidarity kind of a thing. So my understanding, if I'm correct, is that this is just the postdocs, right?
Well, it's the postdoc and then the researchers as well, right? Academic researchers and postdocs.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
So they have those two different agreements, but both the agreements are tentative because they need to all the members need to vote on it.
That too.
So the tentative part of it is that I believe it was like the union, they sat down, with the university and reached this tentative agreement. But will the members go for it in either camp? We don't know yet. Right. So it's movement. I mean, it's good, but we don't know if this is the finish line or not. But either way, I mean, it's pretty cool that, they had to come to the table pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the ASEs and the SRs are next is what they're saying. So this agreement doesn't cover all the units. The tentative agreement reached for postdocs and academic researchers at UC last night. UAW 5810 bargaining teams reached tentative agreements on new contracts. They will be put to the membership vote. Details to come. We are still on strike until a contract is ratified, followed by breaking during the first ever strike by UC academic researchers and postdoctoral scholars. Workers have won a groundbreaking tentative agreement that includes wages that reflect the cost of living and highest academic salary scale for postdocs anywhere. ASEs and SRs are next.
So they're going to stay on strike until everybody gets to the table.
Yeah, that's how I'm.
Well,
yeah. So the TA wages. Yeah. So it looks like they're going to do that. We'll have to wait. This is like unfolding as we speak here. So. Mm-hmm. It's good anyway. But they're making progress.
They're making progress. It's good that they can't come to the table. I mean, it's hard to say whether or not members will go for it or not. I mean, it's tough to anticipate. I mean, sometimes you can tell right away that, oh, this is kind of a horrible deal. But, with this one, it's like, I mean, come on, you're getting an e-bike. No, but I mean, like with this one, it does look like there's some significant changes in this thing. Yeah. But there could be like some details that are still being overlooked. So we'll find out.
It looks like it's a pretty decent deal, though, compared to what they had before. So, I mean, like anything, it's all relative at this point. So much has been given away over the last 30 years that a 57% increase sounds like a giant, raise. But if you're like you're saying, if you're talking about $600 a month, that's like really...
Well, and it's one of those things where it's like you also have to see like how it's implemented, which it looks like it's going to be implemented.
Tiers,
steps. Reasonably. It's not like it's just like by 2027 they're getting $5 more an hour. It's like then it's like okay, this is ridiculous. All right, so folks, we are going to keep an eye on this as it is unfolding. And you can check out all of Tina's awesome footage on the Status Coup channel. It dropped earlier this morning. We were going to play some of it for you right now, but we actually have a guest waiting, so we want to get to them. So we're going to switch over to the railroad strike, which of course is still going on. Yeah. Joe Biden, not on the side of the worker. Joe Biden is trying to force them to take a contract they don't want to take. We'll be talking more about that. But first, we want to bring in our guest for the show here. He is Hugh Sawyer.
Welcome. We can't hear you.
We lost you.
Uh-oh.
Wait. Oh, there we go. Wait.
Can you hear me now?
We're getting a little bit of a bad echo there.
I'll mention just you guys won't be able to overlap talking, so just he'll have to be sort of a neat back and forth because I'm muting his mic.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. So, Hugh, blink twice if you're being held. No, I'm just kidding. So, Tina, why don't you go first?
So I do want to talk about the Biden development because to me, this is him doing a form of union busting. He could have chosen to put pressure on the bosses, the railway bosses, to just take care of the sick days. I think this is a normal request. You should be given these things. This is not even up for debate. How are you feeling about that?
I'm disappointed, not necessarily surprised. From I know Joe Biden really has a handle on what's going on with these negotiations. He was just trying to get us through the midterms, which he did, and now he's trying to avoid any kind of an economic bubble by preventing any kind of a rail strike. Now, the part that gets me in his White House press release was that he wants Congress, and they've introduced the bill, by the way, to impose a tentative agreement as it is written, without modifications on us. And that without modification, really, you don't want Congress to improve the tentative agreement. And the sick days, I mean, of course, we all want sick days, but really kind of far down the list of things we'd like to address, namely how many hours a week we're going to work, our insurance bill. He touted the improvements in our insurance, which apparently there's an increase in autism benefits and hearing benefits, we all need out here. But he didn't mention that we're essentially doubling, and really the sky's the limit on what our insurance premiums are going to be, because now we're going to pay 15% of the insurance premium, no matter what it is. And that could be $1,000 a month in 10 years. So to me, and it didn't address the other issues, our meal periods. The conductors get, I think, $8 and $16 max, no matter how long they're at away from home terminal. $16 doesn't buy hardly one meal, much less several. And the IRS allows you $60 a day tax free, and that's what we should be getting. And again, I'd like to have seen this premium go to zero, as it is for I'm a Teamster, and the rail Teamsters are only pay a premium on their insurance. Everybody else pays $0. So it's a big. But in fairness, the missions are reacting to union leadership and the PB board and the carriers. They're all, this is a historic pay increase. Well, it's not. In real dollars, and we've been going years without any real increases, and this we're still treading water as far as I'm concerned with the rate of inflation we have. And that there's this $1,000 a year bonus that they say we're going to get, and then the union guys the leadership's telling us, well, that'll pay for your increased health care costs. And so okay, you're going to give it to me in this hand and take it from me with the other. I mean, give me a break. So, but I'm very bitter about it. I mean, personally, but what can you do? 2 years from now, we start all over. So maybe that'll be our opportunity.
What's really, whoops, there we go. I think what's really insulting about this as well is that these railroad companies have been making billions in profits. It's not as if they are suffering. And they've used some of that money to do stock buybacks, for example. So it's not as if the money isn't there. It is. They're just being greedy when they should be paying you guys a fairer wage, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're not asking to make $1 million a day like our CEOs, and they've been making record profits quarter over quarter since 2007 at least. I mean, every quarter it's a record profit. And we've been moving less freight since 2016. The amount of freight that we're moving on the railroads is going down, which is an outrage given the environmental advantages that rail gives you over trucks. And but these guys are out to make a profit, make money. The pandemic's allowed them to charge anything they want. The rubber band is broken on this network, and we're caught in the middle of it. You think as you go to fewer and fewer people out here, you'd like them to be well treated, respected, and have some decent off time. They're taking all that away from us. They just be available, all of us, 24/7, and at their beck and call. Now, keep in mind, our bosses, our trained masters, the people right above us, they work 4-day work weeks, and but they don't. They want us to work 7-day work weeks if federal law will. It's entity.
So, is there a chance? I mean, if December 9th comes and Biden and Congress, they just try to make you guys accept this, is there a chance that y'all are going to go on strike anyway?
I don't think that's a realistic scenario. I don't think. I mean, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see one of the unions that voted against us to say, we're not taking it, and have a quote unquote illegal strike, and all of us honor that picket line, because at $2 billion a day cost to the economy, surely they would give us what little we're asking for if we did that. But I really don't think that. But I think what you'll see are sick outs, and just people are fed up, and they're just going to mark off, and the carrier's going to say, we're going to discipline doing that now. But nobody cares right now with the workforce that they have, and they keep hiring people, and they come out here and they see the situation and they leave. And that's what's going to continue to happen until something breaks here or gives. The pandemic has broken the rubber band on the whole logistics network, and the people that work in the logistics network, not just rail people. We're fed up with how we're treated and how we're paid.
Well, why do you think? I mean, just if you could kind of expand a little bit, why do you think that a strike would be unlikely should Congress basically, try to force you guys into submission?
Well, first off, let me say this. I'm a locomotive engineer, so I'm a member of BLET, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, and would for the agreement. It did pass. So, but four rail unions, including the SMART union, representing 55% of labor, voted against it. And I just, because basically the rank and file rail worker doesn't know what to do. They don't have the leadership telling them what to do. And, they tend to, if a federal judge or Congress says you're to go back to work and you're to stay at work, and here's your agreement, and here's what we're going to pay you. I don't know if you have the bulk of the people that want to go strike and defy the federal government sentence. And that's why I look to the Congress. I would have looked toward them to help make this agreement better, this tentative agreement better. Put in a cost of living adjustment. Get rid of the insurance premium. Put in a sick day or two. At least allow us to mark off with the days that we have that they won't let us take.
Well, how do they? I mean, that was one of the things that I saw from one of the news articles I saw, where you're going to get one sick day, but you have to do it 30 days in advance. So I got to ask you, sir, how do you know when you're going to get sick? Is that something that comes with? Do you have a crystal ball? How do you do this, Hugh?
No, that's my pet peeve. There's 0 days in this tentative agreement. Let's get this straight once and for all. What they put in there is if I give them at least 30 days notice, they will allow me to attend on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday a medical doctor's appointment, something like that. There are 0 sick days in this. And right now I work for a company that they don't care. They will allow me to mark off on the weekend without penalty 1 day out of 90. And that's 1 calendar day. Now, if I get sick on a Saturday at 5:30 in the afternoon, and I go to the doctor's urgent, and I'm off until at 5 a.m. on Sunday, they count that as 2 days, and I'm in the discipline program. And I asked the local supervisor about this, and they said, we don't care about your doctors. That doesn't matter. You were off, on the weekend, 2 calendar days, and you're in the discipline program. Right now, though, the people that are left out here don't care. Put me in your discipline. I could care less. That seems to be the attitude of a lot of these guys. That's what they were doing, but now anybody. So.
What is the typical week for you as far as how often you are on call? Is it just indefinite?
For me, I'm on a pool job, so I work 6 days. Now they assign that because federal law says if I work 6 days in a row, I have to be off for 48 hours. So they have set that you're going to work these 6 days, and then you're going to be off for 2 days. What often occurs for me is I go out on my 6th day in the evening. My off day is supposed to start at midnight, so I'll go up to Chattanooga in my case, come back. Often I'm coming back on my 2nd designated off day. Now, when I get back, I'm off for 48 federal law. That's the way it is. If I make 7 days, if I come 7 tickets, I have to be off for 72 hours. But those aren't days that I can plan and make appointments, make a date with my wife, or any of that sort of thing, because I actually don't know when I'm going to be off. It's insanity. And when I came to work here, you used to work. Everybody had a work ethic, and you worked your tail off. And then when you just couldn't take it anymore, you would call down to the crew call and mark off and say, "Mark me off." One or two, however many days you wanted off, and then you'd mark. And they had an extra board to protect my position while I was marked off. Now they want to get rid of that extra board. So it's all about having the bare minimum of people and working them to death. And they want to, these are skilled jobs, contrary to the opinion of management, and just replaces any jackleg that comes along. So, but we're looking to the Democrats to kind of protect us, and they're not. Nancy Pelosi's already agreed with Joe Biden. They've introduced the bill, and they're going to impose a tentative agreement as written. And I think you're going to see a growing number of people get their back paycheck and quit. We'll see. We'll see. I think it'll be a pretty good group of people to do that.
Tina, do you want to close it out, Tina?
I was going to ask about the on-call thing, which you asked about, which I think is really important information. The other thing I wanted to touch on is I also think there's a safety component that doesn't get discussed with frequency attached to working such long hours and on these never-ending schedules. And then my understanding, and you can verify if this is true or not, my understanding is that these crews have been cut down from like 4 or 5 guys to often just one guy, which I think also could be dangerous given certain circumstances. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, first off, I want to say I am on call. I don't know when my phone's going to ring when I'm sitting at home. So sometimes I work in the day, sometimes in the middle of the night. Just don't know. And so given that, I'm sorry, I lost track of where we were. What was the question again?
The crews have been cut down from 4 or 5 guys to 1 guy, and also being on call all the time, how this can also, become a safety issue, not just for you, obviously for you, but also for, everybody else that could be in the line of fire if the train derails or something.
We're down. There were 5 crew members. We're down to 2. There are a few jobs that do work one man, but they haven't gotten that yet, and they didn't get it in this tentative agreement. But what they've got is they've been told they can negotiate that on property with each property. It won't be in the national agreement, but they've got to go ahead to try to cut it down to 1 man. Well, let me tell you, with the schedule I just told, I come to work tired sometimes, and I particularly don't like working at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I need the conductor back there. We can, sitting next to me, we can keep each other awake, keep talking to each other, and cover each other on all these slow orders and things we have to comply with, and make sure that we run the train safely. When I'm up there by myself, it's going to be much less safe. Now, there are a lot of electronic safety devices that will hopefully keep me from red board if I were to pass out from exhaustion or something. But really, with the money these people make, it's just incredible sums of money. Having 2 people on the train costs nothing. I mean, it's not even a blip in the profit. You'd think that we were just raping the company for money, and we're just lucky they make a dime. And we're really, we make nothing compared to the profit system, and it costs them nothing to let 2 men on that train. And it's critical. If the train comes apart, if there's a derailment, somebody's got to be able to go back there and scope it out, see what they can do to fix it if they can, and get help back there. And if you're up there by your engine and the train derails behind you, what am I going to do about it? Nothing. So
just absolutely shocking to me that this is the normal state of affairs with the rail industry. It's shocking. It should not be this way. And I think the more Americans learn about your plight, the more angry they get. The Democratic Party, they say that they're the party of working class Americans, that they're the union guys, right? So why are they doing this? They should be putting pressure on the bosses to come to the table with some just really basic, decent requests. I don't think anything that you have mentioned here should be controversial whatsoever. These are things that should be in place already. So the fact that this is happening is really quite stunning, in my opinion.
Go ahead and say it. The Democrats are the flip side of the same coin as the Republicans. That's it's been my feeling. I've been for a Labor Party or some kind of third party in this country for quite a while now, and I don't see where there's something. Fact is, the corporations donate to the Democrats as Republicans. That's who they answer to, and they the economy's going to fall apart if the rail workers go on strike. Well, good. Don't let us go on strike. Give us what we asked for. Yeah. We're not asking for $1 trillion an hour. Give me a break.
Amen. I'm with you. Well, Hugh, thank you so much for your time. Again, everyone, this is Hugh Sawyer, who is a member of the Norfolk Sothern Engineer and member of Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen. And best wishes to you, Hugh. And we're definitely rooting for y'all, and hopefully this has a happy ending for y'all, and they give you what you deserve. And it's a shame that the Congress and Biden aren't supporting this.
Well, it is a shame, and thanks for having me on. And let me put in a railroadworkersunited.org. Go to that web, sign up for the news feed. That's a rank and file organization of all the rail labor from all the crafts, and we're trying to get the unions to work together to get all of us agreement. So thanks again for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good. All right.
Okay, I am so furious.
Crazy.
No, this is. I mean, the profits that they make. It's one thing if they were struggling to stay in business and the industry was dying or something.
I don't even think it's one thing if that's the case. I think that if you are struggling, if you can't afford to properly staff a train, then guess what? You're going out of business.
I agree. Let me finish what I was going to say. I don't disagree with you. What I'm saying is that if they were trying to make that argument, there's layers to this, right?
Sure.
But and I agree with what you just said. What I'm saying is they can't even do that because you look at their profits and you see that they're making billions of dollars, and you're like, so this idea that, and again, this is also one more example of how wage suppression is happening at the same time as inflation. So this age-old argument that it's increased wages that cause inflation, that is dead. And I'm hoping that more people realize that and see that. It's high time that the labor movement actually, took this to the next level. I think, if I was one of these railway guys, I would be considering what you were suggesting. Maybe when that date rolls around and Congress has told me that, no, I have to accept this, maybe I'd say, no, I don't. Maybe an illegal strike is the necessary thing that needs to happen. I don't know what, again, that takes a lot of bravery to do that because, you could very well end up arrested, I would imagine. But I just don't know how much more pressure they can continue to put on working classes in this country.
Yeah,
it's untenable.
Well, and that's why I asked him, because I'm like, well, what's kind of like, I didn't know if there was anything he might not be at liberty to share, but
right.
I'm curious if they are going to try to like force feed this agreement, like, is there a chance y'all are just going to say nope? And I hope they do, but I certainly understand
Right.
the pressure there. I mean, I really do.
Pressure.
Like, I can't, like
it's like they're going to bring the Pinkertons back. It'll be like 1920s, 1930s. Where
I mean, seriously though, like,
I mean, I feel like we're almost there in a way.
We're almost. I mean, yeah, I think we kind of are there pretty much. I mean, yeah, we haven't had. Knock on wood, we haven't had a Battle of Homestead moment quite yet, but we're like
we're headed in
kind
that
of there. I mean, we're like
there.
We're in the same zone, big time. I mean, it's like this is. I mean, people call this neo-feudalism, and I do think that's accurate. But then someone else put it out there, like, yeah, but in feudalism, at least the lords had to take care of the serfs,
right? No,
and even like the robber barons, people had a lot of time off, comparatively speaking.
It's just
like it's freaking nuts.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. You know what else is nuts is that there was a different Joe Biden that existed in 1992 in the last railway strike. Should we talk about that, Joe Biden?
Well, I mean, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. No, we can go there. I mean, we have a couple little fun tidbits along with the railroad strike. But yeah, in 1992, can you pull up that More Perfect Union video, Colin? Joe Biden was also in 1992. Senator Joe Biden voted against ending a major rail strike. He argued that by intervening, Congress would be rewarding the railroad companies for years of bad faith negotiation. Yesterday, President Biden asked Congress to intervene to prevent a rail strike. So
he did a 180. I mean, where was 1992 Biden? He was right. It did reward, and it was bad back then, and now it's even worse. So
I wonder when, because 1994 Biden wrote the crime bill.
Right.
And so it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I wouldn't say it's as far as a tale of two Bidens. I would say like, okay,
fair.
every now
That's
and
fair.
again, he had to do the right thing, or he did do the right thing. And maybe back in 1992, there was some sincerity to Amtrak Joe. I mean, he was, he took the trade or whatever, and he stands with the working man, and he likes the trains and stuff. Maybe there was a little bit of sincerity back in 1992.
I mean, I think it's possible. Two things can be true. Who knows?
Yeah,
but it is interesting to see this arc on this particular one issue here. I'm not talking about his entire body of
right, totally. Because if you look at his 40-year history, he's been no friend to the working class. I mean, he definitely. I mean, he was pro segregation. Right. He was, he's not. He has enough skeletons in his closet. He doesn't need to decorate for Halloween.
Right.
But yeah, in this one instant, he was singing a different tune
exactly
when it came to the railroads. And honestly, I bet some of it has to do with, I mean, even though it was the 90s, not the 60s, there was still a stronger working class backbone back then than there is now. Not through the fault of the workers, but just through, they've been decimating unions for 50 plus years. Yeah. Back then it was only
right to work laws. Yeah.
Right. So back then it was only like 20 to 30 years of destruction. So it wasn't quite as eroded as it is now.
And also because of that, for that reason, they could put more political pressure on the Democratic Party at that time because there was simply more of them, right? There was a larger percentage of the population that were union members. And just with the declining membership also goes declining clout when it comes to having the ability to push the Democratic Party in a certain direction. So these things work in tangent.
They do. And that's also, another thing about 1992. This is when, the New Deal, or not New Deal, excuse me, but
Third Way.
Third Way. And then what was the other thing it was called before it was referred to as Third Way? Wasn't there like, there was like an in-between. Well, yeah, but like there was something else that like Clinton coined, Bill Clinton. It was before Third Way, but anyway, it was Third Way. It was just called something else briefly.
Okay.
But yeah, there was like the Bill Clinton, like we're a new pro-business Democrat. Yeah, so that's when all that kind of started. And then, like Bill Clinton gutted a bunch of social services.
Privatization, NAFTA.
Yeah,
I mean, think about NAFTA. That's a prime example of third way to me, because NAFTA was originally not his bill, it was Bush's, and Bush couldn't get it through Congress. Clinton came in and he got it right through. Why did he get it right through? Because he was a Democrat. People trusted that he was going to be more pro-labor than Bush was. But it's to me, this is a prime example of third way. Everything third way represents is what's bad about both parties. It's where they come together. It's this argument that the free market, and I use my air quotes because it's not really a free market. It's rigged towards the wealthy elites in the country, right? Capitalism is not a free market system. But, it was where they decided the free market was the moral arbiter, that we should just let, sort of Adam Smith invisible hand do what it's going to do, even though that's entirely bastardized. We'll leave that for another day. But, that is what they believed. And they sold a lot of the left on these principles. And I don't think anybody really thought ahead what the landscape would look like 40 years later. But here we are. Well, here we are with an absolutely decimated working class, untenable income equality that's worse than it was in the 20s, suppressed wages, rents that are unaffordable. I mean, so when people talk about the economy and they want to say like, well, the economy does good or bad, they're generally only looking at the top level numbers, right? Or the stock market, which is
they're looking at a factor that just has no real bearing. Like, the
that's
stock
exactly
market
what I'm getting at. Exactly.
Has nothing to do with people's lives. And we've talked about this too. The way they measure unemployment is like completely bullshit. They don't factor in people who have stopped looking because they're just so broken. They don't factor in people who have stopped looking because they know they're not going to get paid a living wage. So they're better off.
People that are working in jobs that don't pay them a living wage.
Yeah, they don't factor in the underemployed. So
there are more important metrics if you really want to look at how the economy is doing, and they choose not to look at any of those because they're dismal. Economics is the dismal science for sure.
Yeah. So let's go to, there were a couple other things that we pulled up let's show that Boots Riley tweet. I really like that Boots Riley tweet in regards to the railroad strike. So Boots Riley had this to say: if Congress tries to break railway workers' power by trying to legally force them to take a deal they don't want, railway workers must disobey Congress and strike anyway. Congress and rail companies will cry about it, and railway workers will win. It'll probably have to be a wildcat. He's right.
He's right,
He's
though. Yeah, the
100%
pressure,
right.
And the pressure
They got to
would be
do it
immense.
anyway.
They got to do it anyway. I think, even our guest was just saying this, the pressure of losing this money day 2 in, they would probably relook at those contracts quickly. So question do they have the backbone to do that? I'm not going to, I wouldn't be upset if they chose not to. I think it'd be great if they did, but I would understand the reasons why that would be scary.
Like this is no judgment towards them in any way whatsoever, because it's a very, very difficult situation to be in. And keep in mind, it's the system's fault. We have a system that makes it next to impossible to strike, to the point where they can declare a strike illegal. I mean, just say that out loud: illegal strike. That shouldn't be a thing. That should
be an oxymoron. I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the system that kind of forces people into submission. But I mean, I'm really cheering for them that if their demands are not met, and if Congress goes forth to try to force this on December 9th, I hope they do it anyway. I really do. I hope they do it anyway. And you know what, people? Shop locally this holiday season. Do it. Show your support. And I hope it doesn't come down to that. I hope that, they actually kind of come to the table and avoid it. But if they don't, and as of right now, Congress and the Biden administration and Joe Biden himself have made it clear they're not on the side of the worker.
Right. But that's also a problem. It takes power away from the workers, right? Oh God, here comes
Is that your ride? Do you got to go?
It's Tuesday trash day. No, I know. Sorry.
That's a trash thing?
Yeah, Tuesday's trash day here. Sorry about that.
Is your window right next to where the trash guy goes? That's like so.
It's right there.
It's literally in the studio with you. They come into your studio to get your trash. What amazing service you have. They just come right in. He's waving right now. Or
He's
she,
fine.
he or she, I don't know who's, but they are waving right now, going, "Hey, Tina, getting your trash for you. Is there anything upstairs? You good?
No.
I'm driving away now. See you Friday night." All right, there I go. My motor's so loud. Look at my loud motor driving down the street. Let's see what trash the neighbor has. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. You're funny. What I was thinking, though, what I wanted to say was that because of what Biden has now done, it's taken power away from the workers, right? So what impetus would the bosses have to like renegotiate anything at this point? They've already won.
Well, yes, unless they are scared that the strike's going to happen anyway. And if like Biden or Congress gets scared of how this is going to look in the court of public opinion.
Well, it looks bad in the court of public opinion. I mean, you
Does
know,
it? I mean, how many people are talking? Yeah, on shows like this, of course. But, you know, we're talking regular people. I mean, how much coverage is this really getting in the corporate press in the US? Not much. You know, and the coverage it does get, you know, they're making it out like, this could hurt your holiday season. Capitalism.
Right.
They're not
that's
really
true.
talking about it from the point
That's
of the
true.
worker. They're not really talking about what these people are really up against. So the regular person is just like, well, I guess they're just greedy. So, you know, yeah, I mean, will it look
That's
bad in
fair.
the court of public opinion? I think there's a question mark there, especially since so many people, they're not even accepting the fact. I mean, even on Twitter, like, you know, I was tweeting about this and there were people who were just like, that's not true. Yeah, it is true. They're
is
not
true,
accepting
yeah.
the fact that Joe Biden, supposedly man of the union, supposed man of the working class, supposed man who's going to help out and be the most pro-union president we've ever seen, you know, is trying to get people to take a contract with 0 sick days. Oh, wait, I misspoke. There's 1 sick day. You just have to have a crystal ball and know when you're going to be sick 30 days in advance.
It's know what it is. It's a day that you can go visit the doctor if you have a doctor's appointment. It's not
it's a
really.
day.
Yeah, it's a check. It's not. So you know. So I hear what you're saying, and you're right on all of that because I have seen some of these sort of articles that are saying like this might disrupt Christmas because you know the logistics of Christmas are disrupted, things don't get delivered. So they do make those sorts of arguments, and they do that to scare your average American into thinking like, well, we can't have a railway strike then. That's the point of that, right? To
exactly.
So I don't know, man.
It's tough because,
tough.
like you said, now
I think we should be willing to have a shutdown in our economy if it means changing the plight of the working class in this country. But that's just me. You're right. I'm probably not Joe General Public on that.
Yeah, I mean, of course not. I mean, it's like that's just the reality because I mean, I think if regular people really knew what was going on, they would be pretty outraged.
It's appalling.
Yeah.
No, it's
like,
absolutely appalling
think...
what these guys are. It's appalling what they're expected to stand up and deal with. It's appalling the safety issues as well. Like, I think there should be concern about that. I mean, having somebody half sleepy by themselves on a train is just a really bad idea, and there's no reason for it.
Well, even the stuff you say where it's like, hopefully there's an emergency thing that'll wake me up if I collapse from exhaustion. That's not something anyone should have to worry about.
No one should have to say that. Exactly.
Yeah, no one should have to worry about that.
It's
and
stunning.
So not only is that unsafe for the worker, but do you really want to... I mean, how are you going to feel next time you're on a train after hearing that guy talk about what he has to go through? Hearing you, what him and his workers have to go through, where they might... Hopefully there's something to stop them from collapsing from exhaustion.
No, you know what,
Ron,
the worst part of
constantly.
it is, too? And we didn't talk about this with him, but I would imagine the worst part of this, too, is that they would get blamed for that accident, even though all of these mitigating circumstances that should not be the case that create these unsafe environments exist.
It's just criminal. And honestly, this is where we're at because it's not just... I mean, we've heard this story so many times before. It's not just the railway workers. It's the people working at the factories over at Kellogg's and Nabisco. It's the people working at Starbucks. It's the people working at Amazon. It's the people doing logistics who have to pee in bottles. I mean, this is freaking nuts. This
It is nuts.
We have wage discrepancies that are remnant not just of like the robber baron days. We're like looking at ancient freaking Egypt numbers.
We're way beyond robber baron at this point.
Yeah, like we're looking at pharaoh and peasants numbers, and we have a freaking work culture that I don't even know if it's ever been seen short of like forced servitude, literally, where it's like you just work. I mean, 6 days a week. That's the regular.
No, it's bad.
6 days a week. You're on call constantly. You get $16 while you're away from your family. That's not living. Like
No,
that's
it's
not it. That's not a job. That's a freaking sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nuts. And nobody should have to tolerate that. No one should have to tolerate that anywhere, but especially in the richest country in the world where they are making record profits. Yeah. I mean, this place is a freaking scam. The United States is like if a hidden transaction fee was a country. It's a complete scam. Like,
yeah.
And
I'm sorry to laugh. That was kind of funny, though.
Well, no, I mean, laughter is usually a good thing in my world, so I will take it. So let's go over to an interesting story in the digital space here.
Okay.
So let's start with the CyberScoop article, Colin. So we're trying to get antitrust legislation through in the lame duck period. You guys know me. I've been talking about this.
Not to interrupt you, but that would help with this as well. You know, part of why labor is having such a struggle is because there have not been antitrust laws enforced by the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
In every single one of these industries, there has been a tightening, right? So these large conglomerates have come together. They own more of the market share. That gives them so much more power than they used to have. And it allows them to suppress wages.
We're seeing a rise in antitrust in the digital space, and we're also seeing it in other spaces as well. Like we talked about this on the show yesterday in our grocery space. You know, I mean, if Kroger and Albertsons merge, if that goes through, we're in a lot of problems. Now, they are going to face some tough questions from Amy Klobuchar. So not all hope is lost, folks. Amy Klobuchar is coming to the rescue.
She might throw a stapler at one of them.
Yeah, she might. She's going to throw a stapler in the deli aisle. So stay tuned for that. Your groceries are going to be just fine. So we are in like a big antitrust time, and it's so necessary. So here's what's going on. Well,
Amy's the sponsor of that bill, right?
She's the sponsor of one of them, yes.
Okay.
And she's on the antitrust board.
Okay.
So she's on the antitrust board. So she is the co-author of one of these antitrust bills. And she's also going to be questioning Kroger and Albertsons along with Mike Lee. So the only people that stand in between the complete homogenization of our grocery chain are Amy Klobuchar, who, I'm sorry, every time she talks, she sounds like she's about to cry, and Mike Lee. Those are the only, who's a Republican. Those are the only two. So I don't feel crazy confident. I mean, I don't know.
No, but it could be worse.
Do you feel good about the? It could be worse.
It
there
could be
worse. Nothing. It could be worse. It could just be a stapler. Instead of Amy Klobuchar, it could literally be a stapler, and they just have to kick the stapler.
It could be Ron DeSantis doing the questioning. I'm just saying it could be worse.
Well, then it wouldn't be questioning. It would just be like a massage
here
session
you go.
where he would just rub their shoulders and just be like, I'm really excited about this.
Right.
This is great. Can we add? So, all right. So here's what's going on. Well, we want to see this antitrust legislation go through. Instead of pushing that through during the lame duck session, they're working on pushing another piece of legislation in the digital space through instead. And it's not so great. It's this bill called COSA, which is a very well-intentioned bill. If we can get the CyberScoop article up here, Colin, it's a well-intentioned bill. It's about trying to keep kids safe online. So the intention is good, but the execution is very bad because there's a lot of holes in this legislation. So here's the headline here. Rights groups, kids' online safety bill could put vulnerable teens at risk. So more than 90 human and internet rights groups expressed their opposition to child privacy legislation that members of the Senate are reportedly trying to pass. The groups argue in a letter released Monday that the Kids Online Safety Act's vague definition for protecting minors could be used by schools and state governments to justify censoring information about LGBTQ plus and reproductive rights, as well as enable parents to spy on older teens in vulnerable situations. The Kids Online Safety Act, known as KOSA, would require platforms used by kids 16 and under to prevent the promotion of content encouraging harmful behaviors. Now, here's the thing. That is up for interpretation. The encouraging harmful behaviors. So if you're a homophobic legislature, and let's just say Florida, I'm randomly picking a state, but if you're a homophobic legislator in the state of Florida, how are you going to interpret that? You're going to use that to come down.
It's too vague. I agree.
It's way too vague.
Especially in this environment right now that we're in.
So it's a good, I mean, again, and a bunch of people are for this thing because they don't read between the lines. They just read, well, keeping kids safe online. Of course, that's good. We all want that. We want kids online to be as safe as possible, but not at the point where their privacy is completely compromised. Not at the point where they could be harmed, because there's a lot of cyclical effects that could happen. And that's what's going on in this legislation. So instead of focusing on antitrust legislation that starts going after the monopolistic practices of Amazon and Google, they're doing this crap. And here is a fun thing that the folks over at Demand Progress made to try to promote this antitrust legislation. Colin, I want to watch some of that video. Can we pull up the Mediaite piece, please? This is a fun one. Our friends over at Demand Progress made this.
This is the funniest video ever. I was just cracking up when I saw this. It's really good.
And folks, while Colin's bringing that up, smash the like button, smash it, and please do leave a super chat. We'll get to all your super chats at the end of the show here, but first we're going to watch this. So a group uses a deep fake Zuckerberg to toast Pelosi. So Demand Progress. Let's go down to the video. The video released by Demand Progress Action is open about the fact that it's not actually Zuckerberg speaking, showing the actor who portrayed him, but it is the fake Zuck. So can we scroll down to the video? I think it's there, isn't it?
Well, that was a close one. I really was quite worried there for a moment that Congress might move forward with meaningful antitrust legislation. But if there's one thing you can always depend on Congress doing, it's nothing. Nothing at all. One moment. Mind if I make myself a little more comfortable?
That's better. Like I was saying, over the past 5 years, Congress has held over 30 hearings designed to hold big tech accountable. Sometimes you land a punch.
Do you see a potential problem here with a complete lack of fact-checking on political advertisements?
Well, Congresswoman, I think lying is bad for
So you won't take them
their
down.
Character for themselves.
So you won't take, you may flag that it's wrong, but you won't take it down.
Most of the time, felt like playing patty cake.
So how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads. Either way, it looks like the most consequential action that Congress is poised to take, a bipartisan bill to prevent companies like mine from self-dealing, is about to fade away like so many efforts to rein in big tech in the past. And when the House changes hands in January, who seriously thinks the Republicans will do any better than Democrats? After all, big tech is the golden goose that keeps giving and giving and giving. You know, we let them pretend to hate us out on the stump, but in Congress, they're some of our strongest defenders.
If you want to do something about big tech, this bill is not the vehicle. I hope that we can vote this down. Mr. Speaker, I urge, as I said before, I urge a no vote.
I don't know about you, but it's enough to make a handful of humble billionaires shoot themselves into space. Literally, we do that all the time now. So I'd like to propose a toast to Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Once again, you held up your side of the bargain by holding up new laws that would hold us accountable. Thank you for your service to me and all of my friends. The Zuck is fake, but the message is real. Congress only has a few weeks left to hold big tech accountable. Call on Senator Schumer to get big tech antitrust done during this Congress.
That was pretty freaking good.
Yeah, the line about shooting into space just kills me every time.
That was good. That was good. And I mean, that was a pretty. If I didn't know that was a deep fake,
That was a good deep fake.
Well, here's the thing.
It was good.
Mark
It's solid.
Zuckerberg. I mean, and I'm not trying to like put on a tinfoil hat here. I'm just saying this is what he looks like. Mark Zuckerberg always looks like a wax museum version of Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a wax figure. Like he just does. Like he's a strange looking dude. And
I think he
so
uses probably that
believable.
Botox. Nothing moves on his face.
Yeah, like I mean, do you think he got both? He's not that old. Like, I mean,
oh my God, people do this stuff in the 20s now. It's really bizarre to me. I'm like,
yeah.
I like my face muscles to move, but yeah, it's if you have too much of that, nothing moves. It looks weird. It looks like you're a wax figure.
Well, yeah. Well, who's the guy?
I digress.
Axl Rose kind of went nuts with it.
Oh, did he?
And now, yeah, dude, like Axl
We're
Rose
turning into TMZ
doesn't even
over
look
here.
like Axl Rose. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, we just mentioned. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is kind of a robotic-looking dude, so a deep fake of him is pretty believable because it's like, well, that's actually. It is not just how he looks; it's also just kind of how he conducts himself. Like even in that footage of him was like, we sell at like that was his attempt to make a joke. Did you notice that? Like he was trying, and like it's like his face couldn't really move into a smile because he's just like, I don't really know what joy is unless I'm looking at a big number in a bank account. So I'm confused by this. Like, did I elicit laughter from other people? No, you didn't. Nobody laughed because no one likes you. But, yeah. So I don't know. It's a believable deep fake is my point. But folks,
it was very
good news. Here's the good news. You can do something about this too, and you can demand action on this very popular antitrust legislation that is way better than an online safety bill that has a bunch of loopholes in it and has a bunch of vague wording in it that could be used to actually make things more harmful for kids online. Going after this antitrust legislation is a much better approach, and you can make your voice heard at BidenPromise.us. Go to BidenPromise.us, sign the petition now that demands that they take up the antitrust legislation and force a vote during the lame duck session. BidenPromised.us. BidenPromised.us. Biden's made a lot of promises he hasn't freaking kept. So let's try to make him keep a couple. So there you go, folks. Smash the like button. And by the way, when you go to statuscoup.com/join and you become a member of Status Coup, you are supporting independent journalism. You are supporting Tina going to UCLA to talk about the strike and to cover the strike, which again, that video dropped earlier today. If you haven't watched all of Tina's coverage, please go and do so. She was at UCLA for a while. You were there like all afternoon.
Yeah, I was there 3 or 4 hours.
And you walked with them to a so what
went up this they went to the dean's office. Yeah. So basically they were delivering something to the dean's office. So they went up 2 sides of the building. I went up in the elevator with some of the union leaders. The rest of them came up the stairs. There was a lot of strikers there.
Did you like request your transcripts just because you were there? Figured like I'll save myself a trip. You didn't actually go to UCLA, right? You went to one of the UC.
Did. No.
Oh, you did.
Where I got my degrees, UC Irvine.
Okay. All right. So you couldn't just grab your. Be like, I'll take a transcript, please. You never know when you need those things, and they're like, and they're hard to get when you do need them. You
have to go get them in person and pay for them. Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Because they have to be sealed, right?
They have to be sealed. I think most places there's an online option, but it's a pain in the butt.
Old. There didn't used to be. There probably is now. You're right. I'm old. Are we going to talk about this? I really want to talk about this tax cut thing.
Oh, the tax cut video? Yeah, let's close on that. Let's go to the tax cut video. This is
As you know, the president strongly believes that any bill that cuts taxes for a big corporation must also cut taxes for working families, working American families, and working American families with children. So as the president said following the election, he is proud of how the child tax credit expansion he signed into law helped cut child poverty nearly in half. in 2021, both Democrats and Republicans have put forth tax relief ideas for families with children, including the families who are struggling the most. And the president believes that these are the kinds of policies we should be prioritizing.
What a guy.
Which,
first of all, that's grossly overstated.
Me. It is so grossly overstated, but the fact that they can't just say we should have never let that lapse, leave the child tax credit in place, and let's look at expanding that, actually. Now we're saying, like, well, we can't cut more taxes for the wealthy unless we also do this. Here's the thought. We don't need to cut taxes for the wealthy any more than they already are. No more tax cuts for the wealthy. No more tax cuts for corporations. That has run its course. Just stop. Full stop. That shouldn't even be on the table, and it sure as hell should be attached to, like, doing something about poverty in the country. I mean, my God. Like, does that actually need to be said?
That's the thing. It's amazing that this needs to be said. And she said it as if, like, look, of course we want to do something for the corporations, but we also have to do something for the people. I mean, we got to help. And here's all the things that I'm going to grossly overinflate that we did for the people.
Right.
I mean,
so this is the bare minimum they could do. And to say, let me tell you what really chaps my hide about them saying it took 50% of kids out of poverty. This just kills me. The numbers they use as a gauge for that are so damn low that even if you bring these folks up to that level, they are still absolutely 100% in poverty. So, for example, family of four is like $28K a year. That's what the metric they were using when they first passed this thing back in 2021. And I'm like, still in poverty. You are still in poverty if you have $28K a year for a family of four. That is just ridiculous that you think that that's bringing people out of poverty. It's not. So the bare minimum, did it help people? Yes, it did. And that was a good thing, and it should have never expired. They should have left it in place. But here we are now, and this is what they're putting out there in the rhetoric instead of doing something about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is...
It's insane.
It's just more of the same. And then it's like, you know,
tax
I mean...
cuts for the rich. I mean, really? Tax cuts for the rich? Like, really?
There's a rich history of this. I mean, you know, like Obama made the Bush tax cuts permanent. I mean, a lot of times, like when they get a tax break, because then what happens is, you know, they cut the corporate tax rate in half, and then they'll, like, you know, Republicans will just abolish it completely. And then Democrats will bring it back a little bit. Like they'll reel it in the tiniest tiny bit, if that. So then they're like, yeah, we're coming down on corporations. No, you're not. And then the ricochet repeats. So it's like Republicans demolish it more, Democrats push it back a tiny, maybe microscopic bit if we're lucky, and then Republicans, boom, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, yeah, it is at about a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what it used to be. I mean, back in the 50s and 60s, the corporate tax rate was freaking high, and you know what that did? It made people want to replenish that, and it expanded the middle class because people knew, well, once we get past a certain level, oh, by the way, folks, the bosses still made plenty of money. The CEOs were just fine. They were quite comfortable. Their salaries were plenty big. There were still millionaires. It's just after a certain point, they realized there's no reason for us to keep going because we're going to get taxed to the wazoo. So what did they do? They paid people better. And then everybody had a fair shake.
So
crazy.
The highest, let's talk about that. The highest tax rate, the highest marginal tax rate under Eisenhower. Do you know?
It was like 90% or something.
It was
92%.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, like it used to be like 90%. Now, of course, that was
under
after
Reagan,
a certain level.
First 7 years of Reagan. Do you know what it was?
Wasn't it? Was that when it got down to like 10?
Last year it went down. No, the first part of his term, it was 50%. So
it was still 50.
Yeah, the point I'm bringing up here is that this is how far gone taxes for the rich are. Like, they have been cut so drastically that this is even a point of conversation now in 2023 is absolutely insane.
Right.
They cannot be cut any more than they already have been. They're already getting a free ride.
Well, yeah, because it's basically like what? It's not even, it's like 10%, if that. And there's all kinds of loopholes, so it's less than that.
Yeah, so the thing that happens, this is why you'll see some corporations paying like no taxes at all, is because of the write-offs, the adjusted rates and whatnot. So, I mean, you can have a marginal tax rate. This is the percentage, and that's not even reality of what people pay, right? So two things that are happening there. But point being is that the reason we have crumbling infrastructure is there's no money coming in, right? So why shouldn't corporations pay their fair share? They use our highways and roads, do they not? They use, a lot of what is in what I would call the public goods, the common areas that we have. They need to be paid for, and we are in a very dire position where that's not happening, and that is tangential to the ridiculous amounts of poverty that exist in the wealthiest country on the planet. It should not be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. It is by design. This is false scarcity, and for the Democratic administration to be saying like, well, if we do tax cuts, there should be no preference to doing something about poverty, period, end of story. I cannot believe any new tax cuts for the wealthy even came out of this administration's mouth.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's completely like a self-inflicted fallacy because like they also, we pretty much just regulate our own currency anyway, more or less.
Right.
Like, I mean, like learn MMT. It's like they never have to worry about money when they're spending it on war. But when it comes to roads and bridges and when it comes to healthcare, all of a sudden we don't have any.
Right.
And, like these corporations should be paying their fair share resources. They exploit our labor. They exploit our society. They exploit our land and our water. All of these big corporations also have an F rating with any environmental agency that actually is worth a hoot because they're completely exploiting everything.
Yeah.
They're exploiting everything from the trees to the soil to the water to the people. And they're using this entire place as their freaking playground.
Right.
That's why, like, the
and
main
now they're
thing
going
we
to
have
space.
And now they're going to space to try to find some cheap alien labor. And look, it's like our only way to fight back at the end of the day, not the only way, but the biggest tool we have to fight back is our labor. I mean, they need us to make this society happen. So if people just say we're freaking done, and I know how hard I know how hard that is, and it's by design that it's that hard.
Right.
But we have to have some kind of mechanism to have some kind of general strike in this country. Because if we don't, it's going to get worse. I'm not going to say, well, we're going to descend into fascism, because I think we're already there. But it could get worse. I'm not going to say we're going to descend into feudalism, because we're already there. But it could get worse. It can get a lot worse. And it's probably, I mean, there's a good chance it's going to if something doesn't give. And things are starting to give. Yes, things are. When you see all these wildcat strikes, you see what's going on at Amazon, at Starbucks. You see what's happening with the rail workers, that they're standing up. I mean, yes, these things are huge. These things help. These things are infinitely important. So something is starting to give, but it needs to just increase so much, because it's like we're going up against a big Goliath here. But the alternative is like we are just going to, I mean, I think there's a chance this place just becomes a complete decentralized wasteland. And I'm not embellishing. Like, I honestly think that could happen within the next 5 to 10 years easily if something doesn't give. And you might think, well, that kind of sounds better than what we have now. It wouldn't be. It would be even worse. It would be even worse than what we have now. Way worse. So anyway, folks, in the meantime, you should come out and check me out on tour. I mean, really, you should come out to a show before shit really hits you might as well come to the show. Because, I mean, we might, who knows? Who knows how much longer we'll be able to do this. So I will be on the road. January 28th, I'll be in Tucson, Arizona. You can get tickets at romplacone.com and use the promo code Lucy at checkout. So not only can you get discounted tickets, but that's a stand-up show and the premiere screening of my short film Loner. So that's going to be a fun night. February 10th, I'll be at the Glendale Room in Los Angeles, California. That's the first of 3 shows where I'm working on my new hour. Second show there is April 14th. Third show is May 12th. They're all Friday nights in Glendale, Los Angeles. Come on out. And February 17th, 18th.
I will come out. I'll be there.
Oh, nice. Tina's going to be there, folks. You really got to come out now. And then February 17th, 18th, I'll be in San Diego. Tickets and information for all those shows can be found at romplacone.com. And let's go to the Super Chat, shall we, Tina? Oh, and check out Tina's video. Check out the full-length Tina's video. We played some of it here, but check out all that footage of Tina at the UCLA strike. She goes and sees the dean. She teaches an impromptu class to a bunch of students. It was the fantastic afternoon that she had. You got to check it out. She gets her transcripts. She enrolled in a PhD program. She learns Latin. She had an amazing day at UCLA. Check out the footage. It's on Status Coup's YouTube channel.
You're killing. You are on a roll today, sir. You are on a roll.
It's this caffeine water. These things are the best. No, these things are fun. Actually, you know what is funny? Dave Anthony was on the show last week, and he drinks these too.
What? You had Dave
both...
Anthony on, and I wasn't there?
Yeah. Well, you should have known this already. You should have watched it. Don't you watch all the clips?
I try to, but
you just missed all the ones with Dave in them.
Dave Anthony. Yeah, I missed that day.
All right. Well, there were a couple, but yeah, no, he was drinking the same water. We found that out. I was like, we're drinking.
Were like,
we were water buddies that day. We were water buddies. We were like, let's enjoy this while we still have it. Water, which is soon going to be a commodity on Wall Street, folks. Isn't that fun? All right, let's go to the super chat. Double K, what's up? You are so awesome. You've been a member for a year. Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Tony Dallas just called my congresswoman over this dirty deal. Awesome, Tony. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Chris Garrett, what's up, buddy? How are you, Chris? Have you ever noticed that the name of the bill is usually just an obvious oxymoron or purposeful distraction? Yes! The Clean Water Act, that's like completely not that. The Patriot Act. Yeah. The Journalism Preservation
Act that completely destroys your Fourth Amendment rights. Yeah, no. Usually the title is it's the opposite. Like
they're trolling us. They're really
us.
Trolling us. Tony DeMeo, what's up, buddy? Can't wait to see you in Chicago next year. I'm not sure if I know who this is. Do you know who this is? Zuckerberg.
Yes, Tony.
No, I know who Tony is.
Oh.
Here's his comment. Zuckerberg gives me Tom Wambsgans vibes. You know who that is?
No.
I'm not sure if Wambzgans. Do you know who that is? I'm gonna Google it because I'm curious. I don't know who that is. I hope this isn't something like some weird gross thing. I'm gonna
again?
Google it.
I know. No, I'm gonna Google it.
It's like Wambzgans. Wambsgans.
Oh, it's coming up. Okay.
Is it a?
I'm using DuckDuckGo, by the way. I don't use Google for anything.
You're so cool. Oh, I see this.
Major League Baseball player? Or is that
So
a different one?
I'm seeing
What's the
a
first
member
name?
of the Roy family.
What's
Tom
the first name?
Wambsgans.
Tom. Oh, that's Bill. Bill was
from the show Succession.
Okay, thank you. Colin, how did you... Colin's like, this is too painful. I have to chime in.
Yeah, he's a Succession.
Oh, yeah, it's on
character.
Fandom. Here we have on Fandom. I'm a big fan of Fandom, by the way. Fandom is fantastic. They throw a great party at Comic-Con every year. Shout out to Fandom. So, yeah, Roy's Philly Power Siege.
That's a great show, by the way. But I guess neither of us watch it, or we would have known what Tony was talking about.
Yeah.
So you have you
watch, but you know what? Now I'm gonna have to watch it.
I feel like I do too. I mean, Succession has been mentioned to me
multiple
by
times.
A lot of people.
Exactly.
That and I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good with the hits right now. I'm really into the new season of White Lotus. I like this. There's this show. It's good. You should watch White Lotus. You don't need to watch the first season first to get hip to the second season because it's like one of those shows. Like it's always like a completely different story. But there's a little bit of callback, so I recommend starting with the first season. And the first season is just really great, so I'd recommend both and start with the first season. But the new season of White Lotus is killer.
So now that we're on this subject, I'm sorry, I have to ask: has anybody watched Inside Job yet on Netflix, the animated series? Because it's absolutely hysterical.
I saw one episode. It is very funny.
It's about every conspiracy theory.
It's every conspiracy. It's a fun show. I mean,
it's a fun show.
It's a fun one. I really like that show. Although I gotta say, it's kind of like, I love Big Mouth. I think Big Mouth is so freaking funny. I mean, it's so over the top, but it is so funny, and the writing is really freaking clever and good. I'm a big Mouth fan, and I like the spin-off show they did on that too. I think that's a funny cartoon.
What's the spin-off?
What's it called? Human Resources, I think it's
Oh,
called.
I haven't seen that. Okay.
And then there was this other anime show that I thought was really good that kind of went under the radar called Hoops. In fact, shout out to it wasn't Dave, but it was Gareth from the Dollop. Gareth was a writer on that, and that was a really good show. But I don't think it got renewed. So yeah, but I'm not hip to Succession, and everyone tells me I got to be hip to Succession. So I guess maybe Call It on the Ones and Twos watches it because he
All right. I'm gonna
he
watch
rescued
it.
us. He's like, oh my god, they're still trying to figure this shit out because they don't want. That'd be great if we were just.
Apple TV thing, I think. I don't.
Oh, you don't watch it?
Oh,
You're not.
Is it on Apple TV only?
You're just a faster internet sleuth than we are.
Well, like you guys said, a lot of people have mentioned it a lot.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right, that'd be I thought maybe Colin was hip to it, so he was just kind of putting us out of our misery. Like, oh Jesus, they think it's a real guy. God damn it! That'd be funny if we were just like.
I did.
So someone said it reminds them of Daenerys Targaryen. We got to Google this. Who is that
From
referring
Jon
to?
Snow? From Jon Snow.
From the Jon Snow
Game of-
show.
Game of
No, you
Thrones.
got it right the first time. It's from the Jon Snow show. Now with wizards. All right, folks. I think we covered the news for today. Tina and I'll be back on Thursday. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
Thursday's
be back
gonna
on
be
Thursday.
exciting. So I have Greg Palast as my guest on Right Wing Insanity Report. He is taking us through some of the right-wing organizations that have engaged in voter suppression, and not just in Georgia but elsewhere. So associated with Brian Kemp, True the Vote. So he has a documentary that's now out, and I think he's going to have it. You can watch it for free soon if it hasn't started that already. I strongly suggest checking out this documentary if I haven't yet. Martin Sheen is the producer on it. It's really well done, but it's about voter suppression coming from right-wing extremists. So.
Right on. So, folks, we'll be doing that on Thursday, along with some other news of the day. Thank you again to our guest, Hugh Sawyer, and
Yes,
we're really
thank
rooting
you.
for him and all the railroad workers. Thanks for coming on so last minute and sharing some of your thoughts with us today. And shout out to the railroad workers and solidarity with them. Thank you, Double K. Thank you, Tony Dallas. Thank you, Chris Garrett. Thank you, Tony DeMeo. Thank you, Laura Baza. Laura Baza says, love you guys. Hugs. Thank you so much for that,
you,
Laura.
Laura.
Hope you're having a
Appreciate
wonderful
it.
day.
Yeah.
And Tony Dallas. We got another one here from Tony Dallas. Hi, Ron and Tina. I just want to remind everyone that Teal stuffed $5 billion in a Roth IRA tax-free. The rich have won. Pretty soon, Musk will own Mars.
Peter Thiel. Yeah, Peter Thiel's. I could.
Not a
devote-
good guy.
Not a good. I could devote a
Not a
2-hour
good
show
guy.
to Peter Thiel. He's a bad guy.
That'd be hard. I mean, that'd be hard to just.
It'd be hard
stomach.
to sit through, but I mean, if people don't know who he is, they do need to know who he is. I mean, he's like I would say the father of ANCAP, anarcho-capitalism, which is, these are these really right-wing.
I think he's worse than that. I think he's
guys.
worse than ANCAP.
I think ANCAP's pretty bad.
I think it depends on how you're looking at ANCAP. I mean, if by ANCAP you mean like when it gets taken into the corporate space where they're buying influence, then yeah.
No,
But if you mean,
I'm talking about I'm talking about these groups that are, they're super right-wing libertarian groups, right? So these are the guys that don't think a government should exist for any public safety reasons whatsoever. Like things like seasteading, like Peter Thiel's like, let's go build our corporate headquarters in the sea area. That way we don't have to be held by any regulations, labor law, corporate law, any of it. So just extreme positions. A lot of them are neo-fascists too. They have they tend towards the alt-right in their political views. Let's put it that way.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I guess usually when I think of ANCAPs, I just kind of think of the whole like they just want to be completely outside the system and don't think there should be any government or anything like that. And typically they're kind of into guns and stuff like that. I would say he's worse than that. Because he has.
Okay, I'm saying ANCAPs are worse than that because
I mean
they're
maybe
still capitalists, right? So
right,
the
they're
end game
yeah.
The end game is to rape and pillage their way free
Right.
market system that has absolutely no regulation whatsoever. And they absolutely do tend to have political views that are, when I say alt-right, I'm saying they're very racist, they're very anti-Semitic, Peppy the Frog's their guy kind of stuff.
Okay. I guess I wouldn't always associate that with ANCAPs, but maybe yeah. Maybe I guess there's like a branch of ANCAPs that I'm just not hip to.
There might be. And also, I think part of the problem is HBO did that ridiculous. I mean, absolutely, I have to
Well, yeah.
that was called The Anarchist.
And it wasn't about
anarchist whatsoever.
It was entertaining to watch, though.
It was ANCAPs.
It was interesting to watch.
Those guys are ANCAPs. That's if that
well,
helps.
Well, some of them were, right? I mean, like the people in charge were. But I don't think everyone there was. Like all the attendees?
I mean, I wasn't there, but...
I wasn't there either, but like
from what I saw of that series, it seemed
all the footage, you thought all those people...
I did watch I refused to watch that whole show.
I did.
First episode.
It was entertaining. I mean, I could take it for what it was. It wasn't that bad. It was an entertaining show. I mean, I think just calling it The Anarchist was a bit of a... was
Stretch?
A bit of a not complete. Yeah, it was a very
totally dishonest like that. Yeah, okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd say completely. I don't think it was like meant to be malicious. I think it was just meant to, that they're trying to.
It shows a certain ignorance on HBO's part. Like my point is if you're producing this show and somebody tells you they're an anarchist, don't you think you're going to consult with somebody that actually has knowledge in this space and be like, yo, yeah, those guys really aren't anarchists?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, there's so many different forms of anarchy, though, that it's like, depending on who you ask, they would say that they are. I mean, there's ANCOMs, there's mutualism, there's libertarian socialism, which is a type of anarchy, and then there's the other side of it, the more right-leaning side.
So far, I'm okay with you, but what they were doing is all right. Well, we'll leave this for another day. We're way over.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but it's like it's kind of hard because you would have other people who would say yes, they are anarchists.
I wouldn't say come across a single one yet. I mean, maybe they're out there. I will give you leeway on that, but I would.
Well, you just said there's a bunch of ANCAPs out there. They would probably agree with that, don't you think?
I don't know. Actually, I think that could be debatable.
I think they would. I mean, do you think they'd be like, no, we're not anarchists, we're neo-fascists? Would they say that? They wouldn't say that.
I don't know. They're being more upfront about who they are.
Most wouldn't say that.
I don't know, man. I'm not gonna.
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. I see these guys now openly self-identifying as fascism and saying fascism is good. So nothing surprises me at this point.
Let's
talk about Brett Stevens. I mean, this guy who got reinstated on Twitter this week, he's a neo-Nazi. He, the manifest for the guy that shot up the people in Oslo, if we'll take you back a few years.
Okay, we're very far beyond the HBO documentary now. We are miles past that.
We're
miles past that.
I'm moving
nothing to do with it.
I'm moving into monarchy now. This guy had a tweet out this week where he's basically saying we need to bring back monarchy and kings and queens. Democracy is bad. We need monarchy.
Tell him to move to England. Go move to England. You like the royal family so much. Why don't you go there? Have fun.
Is
Bye.
Absolutely nothing shocks, surprises me, or I'm like, all right.
Yeah, all right.
Somebody believes that. Like, I don't know, man.
Folks, tune in on Thursday where we'll be watching the Anarchist series in its entirety. It's going to be a great time. And thank you again to everybody. Thank you, Tony Dallas. Thank you, Laura Baza. Thank you, Tony DeMeo. Thank you, Chris Garrett. Tony Dallas again.
Yes,
thank you, Double K. Check out all my tour dates at romplacone.com and see you soon, Tucson, LA, and San Diego. Me and Tina will be back on Thursday. Tomorrow will be Kim.
Yep,
Kim
Brown.
And in the meantime, y'all stay cool there. This is Status Coup signing out.